Hey, beautiful soul. Sonia B here with DR Holistic Healer, and I'm here with a couple of quick prophetic messages. So please only take the messages that resonate, and the ones that do not, leave them, okay? So I'm noticing that the common theme here is almost like about integrity, okay? So if some of you guys have basically, as an example, if some of you guys have basically confessed out of your mouth or professed out of your mouth that what you not going to do and what you are going to do, it's almost like the Most High is kind of holding you to your word. I just heard like your word is your bond. So keep that in mind, because sometimes when we are under divine judgment, or if we are someone who is going through a spiritual awakening, in a sense, it's almost like God is holding us to our words, or whatever the case may be. So I say all that to say it's almost like this person, it was as if they was drinking from Starbucks, and I got the feeling like they wasn't supposed to be drinking from Starbucks. Maybe they have told somebody, or maybe they told God that they weren't going to drink there, but it's almost like they were sitting there drinking as they were doing their work. But it's almost like I got the feeling like they turned the cup around because they didn't want anybody to see where they were drinking from. So be mindful of that, because it's almost like, again, when you say certain things, it's almost like the Most High is basically, your word is your bond of what it is that you say that you're going to do. Okay. So it's about integrity. If you say you're not going to, shop there, or if you're not going to support them, then allow it to be your business and stand on that, in a sense. Because remember, when we stand for something, if we don't stand for something, we'll fall for anything. And if that's something that you have basically said out of your mouth, it's almost like the Most High, there's a little bit of a level of guilt is what I was getting, in a sense of, because if you have to turn a cup around because you don't want people to see what you're drinking, if you're confident enough in, you feel confident enough in what you're doing, then there will be no need to turn the cup around. So because the person was turning the cup around, that lets me know that there was a little bit of shame or a little bit of guilt, that they probably felt like, they shouldn't have been possibly, drinking from there, or whatever the case may be. Okay. But again, to each is to own, or whatever the case may be. So this next message came through, and this was about a situation of, let's just say, like somebody dealing with kids in some sort. I don't know if it's like maybe some sort of aftercare, maybe a private school, or something something pertaining to dealing with children, in a sense. But I got the feeling like, maybe an adult said something to a child. The child kind of went home and told their parents. But the way I got this was, it was a little bit of fabrication on the child's part of them saying, and I'm not going to even think it's spirit. I'm not going to just say fabrication in itself, because it was a little bit of like taking something out of context a little bit. It's stretching the truth a little bit, in a sense. Okay. Kids have imaginations, and I'm not saying that all kids have an imagination, but in this situation, it's almost like the kid kind of stretched the truth a little bit, in a sense. Well, let's just say that a parent may find themselves, or the worker may find themselves dealing with a situation with a parent. So just to let you know, as long as you know that you have not said anything out of the way, just know that there will stand on your integrity. And not only that, but stand on your integrity of knowing that you hadn't said anything out the way, but just knowing that God is going to be the judge of the situation, in a sense. Okay. Because again, I saw the parent kind of approaching the teacher, staff, or whoever it was, and basically saying, yeah, my daughter told me. It could be a daughter or it could be a son. Okay. It came through as if it was a daughter, but remember, we all have masculine and feminine energy, and it could have just been their feminine side, even if it was a male doing this as well too. Okay. But anyway, so it's almost like the parent went to approach the teacher or the staff member or whoever it was, and basically the staff member knew that they hadn't basically said anything out of the way to the child that was inappropriate in any sort of way. So they didn't let it bother them too much. But the parent kind of kept it a little cool as well too. But the parent was also letting her know that, hey, I know you said something to my child, or whatever the case may be. But they didn't question it too much. But I'm just saying, you just have to be mindful of what you say and who you say it to, because sometimes, you don't know whose children that you're dealing with. And I'm not telling you to be fearful and not to say anything, but you have to know that sometimes you could be dealing with a child, let's just say, that's coming from a background of, let's just say, maybe their bloodline kind of is a little extra. And I say that to say that they fabricate stories, in a sense. Okay. I'm not saying that about everybody, and I'm not saying that that's always the situation. And I'm not sitting here saying not to believe the child, but in this instance, that's what it was. Okay. Anyway, so again, have a level of integrity. If you know that you haven't said anything wrong, then just keep it pushing, okay? So this next message came through. I saw it was like Department of Social Services, okay? And it was like so many black people in the Department of Social Service, but these people were working behind the desk in a sense. And I got the feeling like, you know, whether you're somebody who work with Department of Social Service or whether you're somebody standing on the other end and receiving benefits of some sort, it was as if it came through as if like somebody was complaining to the people behind the counter in a sense. But here's what I want to say. If it is the people who are on the other side of the counter in a sense, just know, again, we're talking about integrity here. So if you're the people who standing on the other side of the counter and you know that there are people on the other side of the counter that kind of like look like you in a sense, and it's almost like you just not having a level of integrity of really taking your job seriously in a sense of just looking at people that as they're just a number, that's not gonna fly anymore, okay? Because I the way I see it is it's almost like all of these black people were behind the counter, and it's as if things were kind of like getting a little hectic in a sense, and this could be a situation of the Most High is really putting the heat, the pressure under the Department of Social Services, because one thing you have to realize, like, there's so many systems that's in place. And if you're somebody who's supposed to be in a position of power, in a sense, or a position of authority, if you're someone like a social worker or whatever the case may be, and you have that level of authority or power that you kind of go into people's homes and you as an individual say whether the child gets removed from the home, well, you have a level of responsibility as well too. So not only that are you responsible for what happens, but we're coming into a place in a time where God is going to allow you to see the actions of the things that you have done, okay? And I say all that to say because, again, this is about, again, integrity. Are you moving with integrity? Are you removing a child from the home because that child is literally not safe, or it's about you keeping numbers within the system and keeping the systems corrupt in the sense of how society has basically, I just heard, done you in a sense. And I say all that to say because let's be honest, when Department of Social Service was being created, you have to understand that there were white people running these systems, okay? Now it just seemed like the systems are flooded with black people. So now basically what you're doing is you're picking up the baton and you're doing the same stuff that they were doing, but you're doing it to your own people in a sense, okay? So you have to ask yourself, this is where God is starting to come in at, and he's starting to, you know, allow you to see the actions of why are you doing what you're doing in a sense, because you have to start questioning the systems of which you find yourself, you know, creating or continuing on, or in a sense of doing what's right and doing what's wrong in a sense, okay? And I say all that to say, and I just also heard too that sometimes you think that these systems, there's nothing wrong with them because that's the way you think that they're supposed to operate. And God is like, no, when you're in a position of supposed to be power or authority in a sense, and you have that capability of going into somebody's home, evaluating the situation. Let's just say if you've had a bad day, you may sit up there and say, you know what, I'm taking a child out of the home. And you can be fabricating anything in your notes or whatever the case may be. But again, that's not somebody who's moving with integrity. You know, that's a home, that's a family that you're breaking up. And that's not going to fly. So I just heard whatever it is that you do to other people, that will also come back on you. Whether it's a situation of you breaking up somebody else's home, just know that there's going to be something in your life that's also going to be broken up, okay? Because God is not playing with his people in a sense. God is really trying to get people to the point that they're trying to wake up. Hey, wake up out of these illusions and these systems that have been set in place. They're just illusions, okay? So as I said before, you have to understand and realize that when certain people create certain situations and systems that have been in place, and then you pick up that baton and you continue to do what it is that they were doing, in a sense, it's almost like you keeping that same cycle going, and God is trying to dismantle certain cycles, okay? Anyway, and I want you to know, I'm not sitting here saying that there aren't situations where children are really being hurt and harmed and injured in certain situations. You know, those situations, I'm not applying to those. I'm just talking about just other situations, just keeping numbers or keeping kids within your systems, in a sense of sending kids to homes that they shouldn't be going to, different foster care people. And maybe that, by taking them out of the home, now they're in a worse, more situation where they're either being abused or being, sexually assaulted by somebody else. Those are things that, you have to really think about the situation and just being mindful of that, and really going deep to the core of the situation. And this is the reason why, like I said, I saw it just seem like it's about to get very hectic in the Department of Social Service in some way, shape, or form. And it's like, I just heard that the heat is going to get turned up. So whether it's situations of, the recipients who are coming in there for assistance, it's almost like they're going to be giving you exactly what you've been giving out. Okay. It's called karma. Anyway, so the next message I received also was, this is another situation again pertaining to integrity. So this came through as if it was another situation of like a child care center or either a private school of some sort. So the way I saw this was, it was like a young lady. I got that she was probably in her 20s or whatever the case may be. She was a young lady. She got a phone call from the office. Okay, here's the deal. So the way I saw this was, it's like she was new on the job. And because she was new on the job, she was kind of almost like an assistant. Okay. There was a child who was just kind of acting up a little bit. So they kind of pulled the child out of the classroom because he was kind of disrupting the other kids. So she was helping assist that child. And she was basically following that child around just to make sure he was safe as he was outside, and the teacher continued on doing what she was doing. So basically, this young lady got a phone call from the office. And as she's gotten a phone call from the office, basically, you ask, well, may I ask who's calling? So they let her know that she has a phone call, and it's R. Kelly on the phone, right? So the way I saw this was, it was as if she was engaged to R. Kelly, okay? And she was engaged to R. Kelly, and then it's almost like she said something to him, or he said something to her on the phone, and then the phone hung up, or she hung up the phone, and then he called back again. So as she called back again, as R. Kelly called back again to speak to her, basically, this was, as I said before, this was his fiance, somebody he was engaged to. But as she called back again, the people in the office, they thought to themselves, oh, okay, well, she has some affiliation with R. Kelly, and she is here dealing with the children that we have underneath our care. So again, whether it's a private situation, whether it's a child care center or private school, I'm not sure, whatever the case may be, but it's almost like the people in the office are making a conscious decision of letting and releasing her and letting her go. Why? Because again, it goes back to integrity. If she is affiliated with R. Kelly, and R. Kelly had all these different charges pertaining to minors, and if she is engaged to him, I just heard, like attracts like, and you are the company that you keep. So I say all that to say, and whether she realizes that like attracts like, there could be something within her that is hidden way deep down and within her subconscious mind that allows her to be attached to him for his being engaged to him. And I say all that to say, meaning like, there could be something that she's not aware of that has not yet to come to the surface. So again, when I say like attracts like, in a sense, but again, it's almost like the people in the office, they are basically, again, making a conscious decision of releasing and letting her go. Because again, if she has ties with R. Kelly, she's engaged to him. I mean, that's her own personal business, and that's fine too. But I guess they have a level of integrity of saying, hey, well, he's been accused of all these charges, and she's affiliated with him. So are we going to keep her on, or are we going to let her go? Because, we don't know her mindset as well. So this is what I mean by integrity. People are going to start moving with more integrity, in a sense. Okay, so the next dream that I received was, again, another situation of integrity. So, okay. So for those of you who are twin flame situations, and let's just say like your divine counterpart may have gotten banned from a store, whatever store. It could be a department store, it could be a grocery store, it could be some type of store. It doesn't matter what it is, okay? The point is, it's almost like, and if you are continuing to shop at the same place, knowing that she has gotten banned from there, in a sense, it's almost like you're not having a level of integrity yourself, okay? Because remember, she is the other half of you. You are the other half of her. So even if it was a situation, if you had gotten banned from a store, it's almost like the Most High would have you to cut off that relationship with that store, because you're not going to have somebody to disrespect your other half and yet you still continue to support them. Some of you have found yourself in a situation to where you may have gotten banned from a store, okay? But now it's up to your divine counterpart, because the Most High has given you directions on going to another facility or to shop at another location. And it is up to you to do what it is that God is asking you to do, because you have to remember, and I just heard that your level of integrity, and not only that, but you're being tested at this time to see if you know how to support in the way that needs to be support. You can't support your divine feminine part of the time and then expect union to happen. You can't sit up there and say, oh, I'm going to support her, just when I want to support her. No, God is saying you got to be on the same accord, okay? If she's banned from the store, you ban yourself from the store. Why? Because again, you don't give your money to somebody who's basically has disrespected your other half, okay? And especially without a cause. But I also heard too, some of you guys were meaning to walk away from some of these locations, because even the ban had to happen because it was meant to get you out of that specific store. So if God is removing you from a situation at this point in time, whether it be, again, a grocery store, whether it be a department store, whether it be a tennis shoe store, it doesn't matter. If he's asking you to move and leave, you need to do so. And I say all that to say, because again, he knows all, he sees all. You have to understand the level of attachment needs to be broken, okay? Certain soul contracts are coming to end. Certain soul contracts have ended. And when you're holding on to an old mindset and holding on to an old location, this is not helping the process, okay, going forward. And I say all that to say, because you have to understand, as an example, let me use this as an example. Let's just say hypothetically, when you was in your era of maybe at the beginning of this journey, for those of you who are going into reconciliation, or for those of you who are trying to reconcile relationships, or for those of you who, this message is for you guys. So let's just say if it was a situation of there was something that you wanted, you desired within your heart. And as I said before, because whatever it is that you think, God will give it to you in a sense, just to see what you're going to do with it, So if it was a situation of some of you, and let me use this as an example, if some of you decided that, hey, I want to see what a threesome was like in a sense, okay? And I don't encourage that at all. I'm just giving you an example. If that was something that was so desired on your heart, God gave you over to that situation. So for some of you, as an example, for some of you, if you know that you have had a threesome, and let's just say that maybe you was in that grocery store and the two other people that you may have ran across, let's just say late at night, maybe shopping in the store for groceries or whatever the case may be. And maybe two of the women's in the store, may have thought you were cute, and, y'all exchanged numbers, and, y'all got together, you hooked up, and then, you did something that, you did something that was a desire on your heart, and God turned you over to that desire in a sense, and gave you what it was that you want, so that you could see that it wasn't what you thought it was. So I say all that to say, if that was a situation of you being in a situation of having a situation of a threesome, but these people are still at the grocery store that you shop at, and even if it's not that particular store, but you shop at one of their stores in a sense, it's almost like what's happening here is like God is trying to dismantle that contract in a sense, because again, the time is up. There's a time and a season for everything, is just what I heard, okay? And I say all that to say you can't continue supporting and shopping at a store, because what you're saying is that you support that behavior. You support that mindset, whether you're still doing it or not, okay? You're supporting those people in a sense. So if you don't support their behavior, their actions in a sense, and that's no longer who you are, and you're no longer on that timeline in a sense, or in that mindset, it's time to release and let go. God has already revealed to you where you need to go next. So that's where you need to go. And when we have a level of detachment, God can work with us. But when we're still holding on to the old and we're trying to maintain because we're so used to that, that's not going to work for God, because God is looking for people to learn how to switch it up and not be so attached to where it is that they want to be because it's comfortable in a sense. Okay. Sometimes we have to get used to being uncomfortable. Okay. That's the only way to grow. So give me a minute, y'all. So this other message that came through was, oh, okay. So anyway, so God is going to reveal some info. Excuse me, y'all. My notes are kind of, accidentally wrote in two different books. Anyway, so God is going to reveal some information to y'all because he's just going to let you know and let you see just how much people have been spiritually working behind the scene on your behalf. So now it's almost like some of you guys, it's time for you guys to kind of step up to the plate, because you have to understand that on this spiritual journey, especially this twin flame journey, you don't realize, but there are some people who's doing some energetic work on a deep level. And when I say a deep level, I mean like so deep that you don't even understand that. Let's just say maybe you wouldn't be able to stand here at that exact moment as an example because of all the work that they may have been doing spiritually behind the scenes. So never dismiss what you think that a person is doing on the surface, because you never know what they're doing spiritually behind the scenes of how it's helping humanity on a big level. Okay. So anyway, that is it. Let me go ahead and give you this quick scripture that was given to me. And it's so funny because, oh shoot, did the book turn? Oh yeah, the page did turn. Sorry. Okay. The page had turned. Anyway, so this is Mark. It is Mark 2. I'm sorry. It is Mark 1, verse 2. It says, "It is written in the prophet, Behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. The voice of one crying in the wilderness." So we have been the people crying in the wilderness, whether it's God's chosen people, and God is just trying to prepare us, through his prophets, through his message. So it says, "Prepare ye the way of the Lord, make his path straight." Okay, so basically, God is sending his prophets, his messengers, to help people to come out of the wilderness. And I just heard to come into the light in a sense, okay? Because sometimes when you're in the wilderness, that is a place of darkness. And it's like God is trying to bring people out of darkness and into the light, okay? So if you guys want to go back and read that yourself, feel free to. Again, it is Mark 1, verse 2, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end that message there. But I wish y'all much love, much light until the next message. Bye.